In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your computer so you can run and test your PHP scripts. Unlike most of the books out there on PHP, where they try to teach you to install PHP and Apache, the web server, and MySQL, the database, the hard way, we're going to do it in an easy way. Simply because practically nobody is going to have to install and set up Apache or PHP themselves, because 99.99% of you are going to be using a hosting company. There are three ways in which you could set up your computer to test your PHP scripts. The first way, and the way that I recommend, is actually not setting up your computer at all. I assume that you guys are web designers, so I assume that you probably have a hosting account for your own personal website. If you do, chances are they support PHP. What I mean by they support PHP, meaning that you can run your PHP scripts on their server without doing anything special or making any changes. You can attest this by uploading a PHP page to your server and seeing if it runs. We're going to cover this at the end of the video, after I show you the other two ways in which you can actually set up PHP on your own computer in a quick and easy way so you can test your scripts on your own machine. As I said earlier, instead of the hard manual way of setting up PHP and Apache and MySQL on your own machine, we're going to look at the two easy ways. Fortunately for us, a bunch of nerds in different parts of the world have actually created programs that will install everything we need to test and run our PHP scripts. There are two places we can go to. The first one I'll mention is apachefriends.org. Here's the address, www.apachefriends.org. And specifically, what we're looking for is their XAMPP project. What XAMPP is just an easy-to-use installer that will automatically install and configure Apache, PHP, and MySQL on your machine so that you can test all your PHP scripts and all your database-driven stuff on your local machine without having to upload it to the server. There's a lot of advantage to doing that, in that usually it's much faster to just test things locally on your own computer as opposed to always having to go to the server. And it's also a good way to test some code that may cause problems. It's better that you cause problems on your machine instead of on your host server. So you can go to XAMPP. XAMPP has installers for not only Windows, but also for Mac and Linux people. So just go to XAMPP, click the XAMPP button, which will take you to the XAMPP install page, and you see we have XAMPP for Linux, XAMPP for Windows, XAMPP for Mac OS X, and even Solaris for the two people who use it. I'm just joking. Solaris is a flavor of Unix, just like Linux is a flavor of Unix that Sun has created, and you don't see too many people using that nowadays. Anyhow, as it says here, XAMPP is free. It's easy to install, and you should get everything going in no time on your own machine. Besides XAMPP, for Windows people, something I use, because I use Windows to develop on, is WAMP. WAMP is very similar to XAMPP, worldwideweb.en.wampserver.com. And again, it's a one-click installer. You download this exe right here, and it allows you to easily install Apache, PHP, and MySQL on your box with no problems. Besides that, WAMP has a nifty control panel that allows you to easily start and stop each of these servers, and it makes developing PHP applications or PHP pages really easy. Whether you decide to download XAMPP or WAMP, as you can see here on my Windows machine, you get a couple of, you get an exe installer like any other program. You just double click, it will launch the installer. It will install WAMP for you, and you'll be able to get going in no time. Here I'm installing XAMPP 1.53. You may use a later version by the time you get this video, but it should be pretty much the same. And I'm just going to go through the process in front of you so you can just see. So I'm going to just put in my program files. And here we go, it's installing everything that we need. Once XAMPP is finished installing, you should get this screen here. Just click to finish. Now it says, do you want to install the XAMPP servers, which is the Apache web server, MySQL? It sets up these programs so they automatically start when your computer starts. You should be able to shut them off if you want to, but it's a convenient way if you're actually doing a lot of PHP work, so you don't have to worry about turning them on all the time. I'm just going to go yes. This little screen's going to appear, and it's going to do what it has to do to install. When the install process is over, what you're going to find is XAMPP will deposit this shortcut on your desktop, which will allow you to access the XAMPP control panel. So I'm just going to double click it so you can quickly see it. Here we go. Besides the program, the XAMPP program depositing the shortcut on your desktop, it will also deposit in your Windows start bar at the bottom of your Windows page. You find a little XAMPP icon which you can click to start the control panel and so forth. We can see here that Apache is running and MySQL is not running, but Apache is running and you should be able to access the Apache server with no problems. The way we can test that is for our web browser. So let's launch our web browser and test whether or not the XAMPP's properly installed and started the Apache web server for us. And what you want to do is you want to go to the address http://127.0.0.1. Now here's your first bit of geek information. This address is a universally recognized address of your computer. Whenever you type this number here, this IP address, every computer in the world knows that you're actually saying, get me to the server, the web server that's actually running on my own computer. In this case, because we're using XAMPP, and XAMPP installed Apache, we're going to be actually navigating to the local Apache web server. Local meaning the Apache web server that's actually we just installed. So we got 127.0.0.1. We hit go, and we know we're up and running because we got our default XAMPP für Windows page. Of course, this is I guess this is German. We're going to scroll down and under Sprachen, and we're going to say we're going to Sprachen English. There we go. We load up our XAMPP Windows page. Congratulations, you have successfully installed XAMPP on this system. First thing we should do is check to see if Apache is working by clicking the status button in the left navigation panel. So we go here, status. Our little status window will open up, and we could see that PHP is working. HTTPS, which is secure web browsing, but we're not going to use that for now. The CGI is working and our SSI is working. We did install the SMTP, which is the mail service, and we did install the FTP, and we didn't install MySQL yet on this machine using XAMPP. But what's important, we got PHP working, so we can actually start playing with our basic PHP scripts. Before we leave the screen, I want to cover just a few things. First of all, you see we got under top menu here under the XAMPP, we know that we've installed PHP 5.14, which at the time is the very latest version, which is quite recent. We also have this method here, a method function rather, a PHP function, PHP info. I'll be explaining what a PHP function is very soon. For now, just click on this button for me. And what this does, it gives you all kinds of detailed information about the PHP version you happen to be running on your server, in this case our local server. We'll be discussing some of this information later on. Don't get too worried about it, but all you got to remember is that PHP info is a built-in PHP function, basically a built-in, how should I call this, a tag if you will, that gives you all kinds of information about PHP that you have, the version of PHP rather that you have running on your server. This is very useful to use not only for your running and testing PHP scripts on your own machine, but also if you are running and scripts on a server, you got to know which version of PHP you're using and what capabilities it has turned off and on. This PHP info function will give you that information. Now to finish up this part of the video, we're going to pop open the XAMPP control panel again. As we can see, we have Apache is running and MySQL is running. What I want you to do is hit the Explore button. Now the Explorer button is going to pop open a window showing you where XAMPP installed everything. The reason that this is important because we want to know where we can put our HTML files and our PHP file. What you want to do is you want to go to htdocs. That's where everything goes. If we select htdocs, we get a view, I'm going to go to list mode here, of the root of our web server. Here's our index page and our index PHP page. For those of you who may not know, the root of your web site always has to have either an index.html or an index.php page. So let's test that out just to see. So I preloaded it to make life easy for us. I typed in index.127.001 and index.html. So if we go back to the root htdocs directory, we have the index.html. I'm just going to open that up in WordPad so we can see what the code is. And it's a very simple page, and you notice all it has is the header tag, and it says it works. And if we go back to our web browser, we go here and we explicitly type index.html, we get the page it works. So we know for sure that this is the root directory, and we know where to add our PHP files over here so we can do our test later on. So just to be clear, you want to look for the htdocs folder inside the XAMPP directory where you installed XAMPP, and inside this htdocs folder is where you're going to be placing all your PHP files when you're learning how to use PHP.